here with my very good friend, Ryan Landry, who is the writer, producer, genius behind what is the Gold Dust Orphans. Ryan,
yes.
Could you give us a little history about the Gold Dust Orphans, how you guys got started, and how things have evolved?
Well, originally there were 5 of us, and what was happening was I was doing plays with other theater companies, and I didn't feel comfortable with them. I didn't feel like we were doing the work to the best of our ability. So I said, we can do this ourselves. So I gathered up those friends, and I said, guys, we can do this, and we did it. We started in a little theater called the Paramount, which was a screening room for Paramount Pictures on Berkeley Street. Sat 60 people, and we did How Mrs. Grinchley Swiped Christmas, which was our first show ever. And when I was backstage and I heard the audience laughing at the jokes, I realized I was doing the right thing. And since then, I've done 50 plays, most of them adaptations of great classic plays or classic films that I love and that the people in my company love.
What would you say is the most difficult thing about adapting these great works? Having been a member of the company for quite a while, one of the things that it seems like you've sort of struggled with is being perceived as just a drag company and something similar to a camp thing. So what makes what you do, what you write, and what you actually give your audience different from that?
We provide a netherworld. When people come and see us, they're actually watching an entire world. For instance, imagine a world made up of Legos, or imagine a world made up of only Smurfs. You can see, even if someone said, the fire hydrants in the Smurfs, even if you never saw a picture of a fire hydrant in the cartoons, you would be able to see it in your mind, because the person who drew the Smurfs, or Peanuts, Charles Schulz, for instance, was such a master at creating worlds that you are able to envision it even when you've never seen it. And that's what we try to do. We try to provide a netherworld, a bizarro world, an alternative world, through which these classic plays are fed through.
In terms of the audience and who your audience was when you guys started and who they are now, how has that changed in terms of the demographic? And do you think that the political climate and any sort of political changes, legalization of gay marriage in Massachusetts, that stuff like that has affected how people respond to the work that you do?
I found that most of our audience now is not gay men, which was in the beginning. It's mostly straight people, and a good percentage of gay people, but for the most part. So look, as long as you pay your ticket price and you come and sit down and have a good laugh, then that's all that matters to me. And I don't really care where you come from. I come from white trash, proud of it, and I just want everyone to have a nice time. And I think that they do. They keep coming back. Some of the people that started coming 16 years ago are still coming to every single play. In fact, we had a talk back tonight, and someone was mentioning plays that I never even finished writing and that they knew about. So I'm proud of that.
What would you say you're most proud of? You put 15 years of your life and energy and time into the Gold Dust Orphans.
I'm proud of the fact that I have gathered around me a group of people who I now not only trust, but love. I feel as if I'm a father or mother figure to them. I love seeing people who are otherwise misfits come into the company and shine. That's what makes me the most proud. It's not so much like, we've done well financially, we've done well critically. The critics we haven't gotten a bad review in many a year. But I'm mostly proud of the orphans. I'm proud of the people that I've gathered around me and trained. I have trained many of them to work in this style, and I think that they can go outside this and work in other places and realize how much I actually did teach them and how much they learned and how much they were offering when they were with me. I'm just proud to have a family. I didn't have a family life when I was growing up. I was too weird. I didn't really have friends. I was by myself. I was an oddball, still am, but now I found other oddballs, and I feel like king of the oddballs, and that makes me quite happy. Yeah, makes me happy.
And now, for the second segment of our interview, I will be speaking with Scott Martino, aka Penny Champagne, who is the leading lady of pretty much every Gold Dust Orphans show. And I thought it would be interesting to get his insight on the more intimate process of acting in drag and being a company member of the Gold Dust Orphans.
Yeah.
What was and what is working with the orphans and the work that you do here, how is that different?
Well, I think a lot of drag queens, they go for a certain level of, just sort of beauty, or I think it's sort of vapid in a way. Like they don't allow themselves to go for emotion or like true human or female. Just sort of emoting as a female. It tends to be, drag gets misconstrued, where it's just purely visual, set to a disco beat, and not allowed to actually venture into what is it like to actually be a woman. And that's where it started for drag. And then when it went into the shows, it started to explore other elements of like what a woman would feel, I think.
What other elements?
I don't know, like one of the first roles that I got was maybe a larger role was with the Bad Seed. And that's when I had to play a woman that lost her only child. And all of these are sort of campy and silly on the surface, and which is fine. The people are they're gonna laugh at it. They're gonna laugh at a man in drag, but there's an inherent quality about what a woman will understand about losing your only child that is only able to be felt sort of by her. When I got into it, people would laugh while you're doing it, and that's fine. But then at the end of the night, we used to do we would stand outside the door, and the audience would come out, and you'd shake their hands, and while doing it, people would laugh through it. They would laugh through it, but I'd also hear sniffling, and this was my first experience to be allowed to do it, and I totally would just try to surrender and go there and think about, like, I'm not, that's my only kid, it's gone, and they would laugh, and some people you would hear would cry, but as we greeted them as they left the theater, I found that it was usually women that would stop and be like, "You son of a bitch, I was having a great time, and then you made me cry." And I realized it was only women, and I was like, see, there's something to that, and it's difficult to be a man and try to connect on that as an actor.
But how do you? What's the process for? I realize that was the first time was a
Right.
little bit of a
That was a big
baptism
one.
by fire.
Yeah,
but,
totally.
throughout the years, this has been sort of your calling and your vocation is to play these iconic women, whether they be strong, whether they be well known, whether they be.
Right. When I tend to play the anti-drag character, it's usually the one that's not fierce or bitchy, or I tend to be the one that's pregnant, or no, seriously,
Yeah.
think of somebody, or soft. I've only gotten to play one sort of mean, villainous. I don't play the Betty Davises. I play the Stellas of,
Right.
It's a whole different thing where you're asking people to forget that I'm a man, that I'm a woman going through these female emotions, and it's yeah, I don't know. I guess it's, what was the question?
What your process is.
Oh,
So
thank you.
do you think of yourself as as a man portraying a woman, or do you think of yourself as just portraying a woman?
They're iconic characters, and like I said, and they tend to be softer, so I can't go for sort of the camp. That's inherent, but I try to study the actress because there's something about that part that makes it iconic. There's something.
Yep.
So I just try to go into it with no preconceived notions, and I watch it, and I try to get their mannerisms, and I try to get their their vocal quality, and I try to get the essence of what they are feeling in these beautiful, beautiful performances. And then I let it lie and try to find my own idea, because I can't just do that.
Right.
I can't do what they did. I
Just
can't
imitate it.
Yeah,
Right.
and I don't want to just imitate it either.
Right.
We bring it to our audience, and they're going to laugh, and they're going to perceive it differently, and I can't anticipate that. So I don't want to do just a mimic. So I try to get as much of it as I can, and then wait and see where the humor is, and where the heart is, and that changes. But and some lines I'll find I will deliver almost verbatim as the original actress.
Yeah.
But others will totally transform themselves by what the audience wants or what the show needs. But I'll start by trying to understand exactly what made that performance great and what that actress made interesting.
What are your favorite characters that you played?
God, like I said, I mean, I guess I always sort of, I guess I always feel like I fall in this weird crack because I'm not a campy drag queen. I have to play this weird woman. And sometimes I don't think people realize what that's like to be a man with, I'm not necessarily really an effeminate man. And I have to go into being a pregnant woman that's, being abused by her husband and what that is. And I think my favorite ones are like Stella from what would be our version of a streetcar named, a Desire. Or was a T-stop named Denial. I liked that because I like the thought process of somebody that's, here I am as a man, but I have to play this sort of soft, meek character that the audience sort of bonds to. I love playing Birdie. I love this one because she seems like a ditz at the beginning. She seems like she's lost, and I like being able to connect with the audience to the point where they want to laugh at you, but then they also all of a sudden are really touched. And I think that's important for drag because then it makes it like, it's not just camp, it's not just silly, it's like we're touching on real emotions,
And do you think that that's sort of what sets the Gold Dust Orphans and the work that we do, that you guys do, apart from other stuff? Because on the surface it looks like it may be one thing, but underneath is an undercurrent of true emotion and feelings and honesty and somewhat provocative ideas and emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's easily overlooked. I don't think they realize, I mean, maybe they do, but I don't think they realize deeply how difficult that is to pull off. It's that for them to forget, even for a minute, that this is a 40-year-old man. Even for a minute, like they just assume that you're a woman. That's actually kind of difficult, and I think they do. That's the thing. I think they do. They forget that I'm a man. They forget that they just allow it to be, and I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of.